What's up everybody, Kimberly Flowers here, the visual branding expert. I am super excited about today and I think you know why. Today is our first ever episode of Beauty and the Brand. Yay! I'm super excited. Thank you for being with me today. I hope you got your coffee and I hope that you're ready to have a little discussion about relationships. So Valentine's Day has just passed and we're thinking a lot about our relationships right now. And so I want to talk to you about how branding can help you build awesome relationships. I think it's only fair that I tell you my story of how I came to understand the value of branding myself when building relationships. My story starts in high school, and in high school, I was completely oblivious as to how I was showing up in the world. I just wanted to play basketball, and that was it. That's all I cared about. That's all I did, right? I was into sports at that time, and pretty much a tomboy. I just was following my brother's lead at that time, and that was what I had to go on, so that's what I went on. I met a friend in college who also played basketball, and she was very intentional about how she showed up in the world. Now, at that time, I didn't recognize what the difference was, but I did recognize that she had a presence about her and that people were magnetically drawn to her. I didn't know why at that time, but I was about to find out. So she used to kind of nudge me in the direction of changing up my wardrobe and maybe experimenting some things with my overall look. I remember at that time I was rocking my brother's shorts a lot and I was rocking whatever jersey I could find, and my hair was in these braids that had turned into dreads over time because I hadn't redone them. So they were like braid dreads or dread braids or something like that. And I remember people asking me in high school, are those dreads or braids and my sister and I would always respond, clearly they're braids. But now looking back at the pictures, we're like, oh yeah, they were pretty much dreads. So I forgive you guys if you're watching this right now and you were one of those people that asked me that. I get it, it's fine. So anyways, through the insistence of my friend, one day I decided that I was gonna take a really bold move and completely change my personal appearance. Look, I'm talking head to toe. I took the dread braids out of my hair. I wore a dress and heels to school for the very first time. I remember coming home with all of this stuff, right? I had stuffed animals and chocolates and roses and candy and jewelry even. And me and my sister were both like, what? Because I went from literally never having a Valentine's Day, never having a Valentine, except for my dad, love you dad, forever, like until that day. And then that day I got like a bunch of stuff. So that's the day I realized that how I show up in the world matters. Now I want to talk to you about your brand. Everyone has a brand, and your brand is anything that represents you on or offline. So when you're looking at online, things that represent you can be your Facebook page, maybe it's your blog, maybe it's your website if you're a business owner, maybe anything that represents you online is considered your digital brand, and anything that represents you offline is considered your personal brand. So how you're showing up physically, everything from how you dress and how you interact with people and your hygiene, all of those things are considered your personal brand. So let's talk brand identity. Your brand identity is how you want to be perceived in the world. It is how you are, it is your big, bold statement. This is who I am. This is, what I represent. This is how I want to be seen. And that becomes your brand identity. And however you want to be seen in this life, however you want people to perceive you, first of all, should be the authentic version of yourself and not somebody completely different, because people know when you're not being authentic. And so I want to encourage you to build your brand identity around who you are as a person. So let's look at the 4 values of branding when building awesome and amazing relationships. The first value is that branding allows you to visually communicate your value. Branding allows you to visually communicate your value. So like in my story, I am the same person. I was the same person in the dread braids as I was with the straightened hair and heels, but my value was being perceived differently because Branding allows you to visually communicate the value. So my awesomeness was already awesome, but now I was able to communicate the awesomeness through a visual platform. That's the power of visual branding. Value number 2, branding builds rapport. So at the end of the day, business, if you're a business owner, then you understand that business is all about relationships, and our relationships start with building rapport. It starts with giving people a good feeling about who you are as a person, who you are as a brand, the services that you offer. You want people to feel good about that, so you have to build rapport, and branding allows you to build great rapport with people, because when you're intentional about how you're showing up, people recognize those things, and oftentimes it is the difference between good and great presentation. Branding value number 3. Branding helps you convert strangers into friends and followers, and potential clients into paying customers. So if you're in business, this is a huge one, because branding a lot of times is one of those steps that is missed. A lot of time when we're thinking about conversions and when we're thinking about making more sales, we think marketing. I gotta get the message out there, and I gotta get people to see it, and that's how they're gonna buy. And the truth is, the buy-in factor happens with branding, whether they're buying into your personality and deciding whether or not they like you or not. How you show up in the world is really gonna tell them, unconsciously give them clues as to whether or not they wanna buy from you. So being intentional about how you show up in the world, branding yourself, is going to help you convert the people that you wanna be in relationships with into actual relationships. So we've talked about branding being a form of communication. We've talked about it being valuable in the sense that it builds rapport with the people that we want to build relationships with. And branding helps us convert people. We convert strangers into followers and friends, and potential clients into paying customers. Branding value number 4 is simply this: branding helps build confidence. You can be very confident in how you're showing up in the world when you are intentional about the impressions that you are creating. It takes the guesswork out of wondering to yourself, do they like me? How do they see me? You know, and in business, those questions are super important, and also in your personal life as well. We want to know how people see us. But when you're intentional about how you're coming across, you know what impressions you're giving because you intentionally created them. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to hearing all the comments and joining the conversation with you guys about branding and building relationships. So please comment, share, like. If you found this episode helpful, please stay with us next Tuesday. Come back and let's talk more about branding and building relationships. I'm Kimberly Flowers, and you've been watching Beauty and the Brand.